Hello, welcome to chemistry. This is chapter 1. Going to talk about chemistry in this introduction, what chemistry is, where we find it, how do we define it. Okay, let's go on. So, chemistry is part of everything you do. Have chemistry in medicine, agriculture, physics, material, geology. Chemistry is everywhere. Okay, so matter chemistry is involved with is anything that has mass and occupies space. So when we have matter and chemistry deal with that matter, we look at the composition of that matter and the structure of the matter. What is composition? Well, composition is what something is made of. While structure is these things that make up the substance, how they put together, how the component of matter are put together, that structure. Okay. So we have examples here. Here we have grass. Grass will deal with chemistry. You have chemicals in there. It's made of cellulose. Cellulose is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And wood here is coming from cellulose as well. Polymer of cellulose. All of these things here are part of chemistry. So chemistry, when we look at chemistry, we have pure substances and we have mixtures. What's a pure substance? A pure substance can be an element, periodic table of elements, a single element like copper, chlorine, hydrogen, that's an element. And an element is made of only one type of atom. So again, chlorine will be an element. Even if I have two chlorine together, that will still be an element. But then you have two or more different substances, you have what we're going to call a compound. So this is gold. Pure gold is just atoms of gold throughout. Okay. So compounds are composed of two or more elements that are chemically bonded together in a fixed ratio. For example, water is made of two hydrogen and one oxygen. That's a compound. We have two hydrogen and one oxygen because you have two different elements here. That's a compound. A compound can be a molecule. So molecule are a group of atoms that are bound tightly together and behave as a unit together. They behave as if they were one thing. In this compound, as we said, we have a ratio of 2 hydrogen for 1 oxygen. We have the atomic molecules. These are still elements. That would be the example. An example here would be oxygen. Oxygen is made of two atoms of oxygen that are attached together. They're always moving together. So the composition of material, some element naturally exists as diatomic, we said, like oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, chlorine, fluorine. So they exist naturally that way. But we also have mixtures, we said. Mixture contain more than one substance and they're not chemically bonded together, right? So mixture contain more than one substance that are not bound together. For example, if I look at this statue made, let's say made out of bronze, okay? Bronze is a mixture of copper and tin. So if you look at this picture here, we have some of this, that might be copper, and we have tin there. It might look like one thing, but it's not. If I have sugar dissolved in water, that would be a mixture, okay? So these elements are the pure substance are together, but they're not attached to one another chemically. So in terms of mixtures, then we have homogeneous mixtures and we have heterogeneous mixture. Bronze, for example, was an example of homogeneous mixture. When you look at it, it looked like one thing. Homogeneous mixture is a mixture that look the same throughout. Heterogeneous mixture is something like water and sand. It's still a mixture, but you can tell that it's made of more than one thing. Okay, so homogeneous mixture, component mix evenly, and an example would be here: salt mixes evenly with water. It looks like just water, right? And then heterogeneous mixture do not mix evenly. An example would be then if you had here sand And water, you see that we see the sand down here and the water on top there. It's not uniform, it's not homogeneous. Other mixtures we can look at, we have, this is the dough for cookie. We have here, you pouring something in water that's not mixing completely. Okay, so we have water here and you put something in it. Or example of mixtures. So how do you separate mixture? You can separate mixture many different ways. An example, a simple example is you have sand and water, for example, and you use a filter paper to separate that. Okay, that will be an example of separation of mixture. A key difference between a compound and mixture is that mixture can be separated into the individual component without changing the identity of the substance. Okay, for example, chemists commonly use the technique of filtration to separate heterogeneous mixture. We give an example of sand and water. If you pour a mixture of sand and water through a filter paper, the sand is going to be retained on top and the water is going to go through. So if we go back then to talk about matter, matter can be, we say, can be a pure substance. In this case, you have one element or compound or a mixture that has more than one pure substance in it. We say that pure substance can be element when you have only one type of atom, or compound when you have two or more atoms that are chemically bonded. So here, a pure substance might be gold here, and here we have one. Mixtures can be homogeneous or heterogeneous. So homogeneous mixture would be, say you have air, for example. Air is made of nitrogen, oxygen, and all the thing you had, but look like one thing. Heterogeneous mixture is you have an uneven distribution of the thing that is dissolved in the other one. States of matter. You've heard of states of matter before. We have solid, liquid, gas. Those are the most common state of matter. Solid have definite shapes and volumes. Liquids have definite volume, but they take the shape of their containers. Gases have no definite shape or volume. So solid, definite shape, definite volume. Liquid, definite volume, but it will take the volume of the container, so it's not definite. And gases will take the volume and the shape of the containers. When you have a state of matter, it can go from one to another one without changing the chemical composition of the substance. That phase changes. If I have solid water that we call ice, if I heat it, I'm going to melt it into liquid water. If I keep heating, I'm going to get that into a gas that we call steam. And we can go back. So the process of going from solid to liquid is called melting. From liquid to gas called evaporation or vaporizing. Going backwards from gas to liquid, that's condensation, and from liquid to solid, we call that freezing. All those are changes of state. So particular arrangement, if we look at microscopic level, the behavior of any substance determined by the arrangement of the particles that make it. So in general, when you have a solid, you have particles that are perfectly aligned together and they don't move much. If you put heat into it and you melt it, you see how more disorder here. So this will be solid gold and this will be liquid gold. You have less arrangement particles, and this particle can slip and slide on top of one another, making the liquids flow. Going to look at properties. We have two types of property. We have what we call physical properties. These are properties that can be measured without changing the identity of a compound. For example, length. If I say something is 5 feet long, I don't have to change the composition of that. I just measure it and I tell you the length. So length will be a physical property. The volume will be a physical property. Okay. And mass, volume, temperature, color, hardness. Those are examples of physical properties. Okay. Physical changes don't change the identity of a substance. So if I change something with that change this chemical composition, that's a physical change. If I go from solid water that we call ice to liquid water that we call water, solid water that we call ice and liquid water that we call water, they have the same chemical composition, but they're not the same anymore. Physical properties have changed. That's a physical change. Physical change don't change the identity of a substance. So if I cut a piece of wood, it will not have the same length before and after, but it still have the same chemical composition. If I evaporate water, that will be still be water. That will be a physical change. Okay. So here I have copper. I still have copper here. Here we have it in one form, and we have that in different form here. Physical changes are just that. Okay, physical change can be measured without changing the substance, such as mass, color, and temperature. We said here we're changing a solid into a liquid, for example. And then we have chemical properties. Chemical properties cannot be measured without changing the identity of a substance. Chemical changes change the identity of a substance. So a chemical property is one that cannot be measured without changing it. If it says something that is flammable, you have to light it on fire to know that it is flammable. And at that point, when it's lit on fire, you already know that you've changed it. Okay, and a chemical change is what we call a chemical reaction. It changed the identity of a substance. So when you have, we say that an element has one type of atom in it, and a compound has two or more different elements. So in chemical changes, elements combine to form compounds. For example, when you heat, say, zinc and sulfur, they will combine to form a new compound that we call zinc sulfide. The compound has the property that will be different from those of zinc and those of sulfur, even though they have the two in the same substance. Okay. So a change that forms new compound is called a chemical change. It's called a chemical reaction. Here I have methane. That's natural gas we have at home. We react that with oxygen from the air, and we make carbon dioxide. We have two oxygen and a carbon, and then we make water. That's a chemical change. That's a chemical reaction. You see that after the reaction, we don't have this structure, we don't have this structure, we have new structures. We say then that a chemical change the identity, a physical change does not. Okay. We often describe chemical and physical changes in terms of their energy. Energy is the ability to do work or to produce heat. That's how we define it. We have many different types of energy. One of them is what we call potential energy. Potential energy refers to the energy that is stored in a substance. We say that potential energy is energy to the position or the composition of a substance. And then we have kinetic energy. That's the energy of motion. When something is moving, it has kinetic energy. The faster an object is moving, the greater the kinetic energy it has. Heat energy involves the kinetic energy of particle in a substance. When substance is heated, the particle within it vibrate and move more and more quickly. For example, if a stove is hot, the particle on the stove surface vibrate more rapidly than when it's cold. On microscopic level, we see that as hot, but in microscopic level, particles are moving faster in a hot substance than in a cold one. So here we're showing that here this is supposed to be moving fast and it's not moving as fast on auto. So moving from higher energy to lower energy, that's a change in energy as well. Moving from lower energy to higher, so we say that potential energy is energy due to position or the composition of a substance. So in this case, if I'm higher here, I have more potential energy. So I'm lower, have lower potential energy. Here, going from lower to higher, we're changing energy as well. Potential energy is stored in plants. We can harvest that when we burn the plant, wood, we can harvest that potential energy. So potential energy, then we're saying this here has higher potential energy. Going from here to here, we have going from high energy to low energy. Energy in a coil, when you have a spring and you compress a spring, you have energy, which you release that, you're going to release energy. Same thing here, have these substances, when they react, they form a new substance that might have less energy. High energy up here, more stable down here. We have changes can be exothermic or endothermic. And exothermic, as the name suggests, exit means leave. So an exothermic change is one that releases heat. So if I'm burning this, heat is released from this. That's an exothermic process. An endothermic process is one that absorbs heat. Okay. So I have this water on the stove. If I heat here, the water will absorb heat. So this absorption is endothermic. And then we're going to finish with the scientific method. Scientific method has generally a few steps depending on where we talk about that. You can say that it has 3-4 steps depending on how you define it. The approach that scientists take to solve problems is called the scientific method. At its core, the scientific method is a cyclical process of making observations, formulating new idea, hypotheses, and then testing those ideas. If they don't work, what we thought it would be, we can go back and start over again. Okay. So a hypothesis is tentative explanation of an observation, and it has to be tested. So that test is an experiment. And when you perform experiment, you can come up with a theory, and a theory is an idea supported by experimental evidence. Okay. So the scientific law then is a statement that describes observations that are true in widely varying circumstances. Have many laws. Gravity, for example, is true here or somewhere else, it's always going to be true. So theories, how or why happens, laws, what happens. Okay. So when you create a theory, you can use it as law and be able to predict what will happen. Scientific communication. Scientists communicate findings through scientific papers. So when you do experimentation, you can publish that in scientific papers so that people know what you have done. Have some scientists here, clockwise from left to right. We have these people that you may have seen before. So all of these are scientists, and they communicate their result when they have done experiment and they know what's going on. And we're going to stop here for chapter 1. Thank you.